there. Hi. That's a UFO. That's a UFO. Yeah. It's a UFO. Do you see it blinking? I've been tracking it. Turned red. Did a weird thing. It's a UFO. I've been filming it. Yeah, it's neat.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Cosmic Convergence. I'm here with Daniel, Christian, and our good friend Jeff Selver, experiencer. We'll get to that introduction here in a minute. But really what we're here to talk about is what everybody in ufology, everybody in occurrences that's going on around the world, especially in the United States, but not just the United States, is talking about lately, are the drones, the mystery drones, and all of the flaps of UFO jets, unidentified aircraft, UAP, you name it, that's been going around here lately, mainly in New Jersey. What's the potential? What are we seeing? Because really, honestly, myself personally, I don't know. It's just all conjecture for me, and I think that a lot of people feel the same way. And so we're just here to discuss it, discuss some of Jeff's personal experiences. He'll be sharing some of his footage as well from Vancouver, Canada, and he'll give his perspective on this stuff while we just sit here and discuss the potentiality of everything. What does the government know? What does it not know? Is it a psyop, et cetera, et cetera? And so go ahead, Daniel, if you would be so kind as to introduce Jeff for us.
Yeah, thank you, John. Well, again, thank you everyone for joining us on today's episode. Jeff Selver has joined us on episode 23 and 24 about his personal stories in over 26 contact events. If you want to find his amazing book, it's called The Rising and the Alien Plan to Build an Enlightened City on Earth. You can go check that out on Amazon. We'll make sure to put a link as well. But yeah, we wanted to bring Jeff on today, share his in real-time experiences with seeing craft of the gray being that he is in contact called the Elder. And we wanted to go over some of the more strange aspects of the phenomenon and what they can actually do between UFOs, craft, and what they can potentially look like. So thank you again, Jeff, for joining us today. Appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it, everyone. Thanks, guys, for having me. Appreciate it.
Of course.
And Jeff, it's always a pleasure to talk to you, and I always wonder, like, what you're thinking about. I've thought about it, like this whole thing. I'm like, I wonder what he's going to say about all this. So I'm pretty excited to
Awesome,
get
Christian.
into this. I have some theories.
Yeah, you got it, man. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm glad you guys are one of my favorite guys on the internet right now. So I appreciate you having me on. Yeah, thanks.
Likewise, brother. Likewise.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and start showing some of the footage.
Oh, look at her doing it. We'll do it again. What? Oh, look at her again. What is that? It's like an airplane dropping. It's like a dropping flares or something. I don't get it. What in tarnation is that?
There they are. There they are. There they are. Oh. Marmora, New Jersey. Here they are. And they do sound like drones. Yo, look. Looks like a triangle. Look! It looks like a fucking triangle! Go! Well, here they are. They look like a fucking triangle. They look like a triangle. No way. And an F-16 just flew over. No way. They look like triangles. Whoa. They look like triangles.
Okay, so like there's good several clips there of anomalous objects. Some could be planes. That last one that we saw, the commenter was saying that it looked like kind of a triangle or a wedge, kind of a wedge shape. And I know that one of the skeptical viewpoints on this, which can make sense, is, well, obviously, why do UAP have to have lights? Well, I could go on for probably about 15 minutes on why UAP would still need to have lights. But one of them being maybe they do want to mimic, and I know that mimicry has come up in this conversation. If these are UAP, that they want to go ahead and mimic what our craft look like. Okay, but one thing that really stands out is we have FAA regulations as far as lights on craft. Got to have a green one, got to have a white one, got to have a red one, and they have to be on certain wings and on the front of the plane, jet, etc. Okay, standard FAA regulations. So when anything's seen in the sky that do not have standard FAA regulation lighting, kind of makes you a little curious. Okay, is that really one of ours? Do the military have to follow FAA regulations? Not a military expert as far as that stuff goes, but Jeff, those clips that we've just watched up to this point, is there anything that really stood out to you?
The one hovering by the like a radio tower, oddly similar to my own that I caught on film, and is a hockey puck disc looking thing that was turning, and I caught that on film. It's on my channel there. So that was oddly similar to my own. Yeah, you're right about those UAPs having like the drones mimicking, drone UAPs mimicking drone lights, and that's what I'm experiencing locally here as well too, where they're mimicking lights that you would see on craft, and then there would be something very irregular about the lights, so it's not 100% a mimicry, and so it's something that there will be something off about the lighting. In my case, depending on the angle, the craft will be blue and red, and then when it gets up close, the blue and red are gone, and it's just a white, and then it's pulsating white. And when it disappears out of the pulse is bright, and then when it disappears, there's no object, or you can't visibly see something. So I'm pretty certain FAA doesn't allow you to be black and pitch black while your lights are off and blinking. So yeah, there's something weird here about the mimicry that doesn't 100% match our own objects. But that's all pretty consistent with my own experience. Several of those videos, yeah.
And since you're bringing up your footage and what you've seen, I think now would probably be a good time to go ahead and feature some of those, and then it can kind of corroborate what we've just seen and what you've seen at the same time. So let's go ahead and load those up.
Hi there. Hi. That's a UFO. That's a UFO. Yeah. It's a UFO. Do you see it blinking? That's a UFO. That's a UFO. Yeah. It's a UFO. Do you see it blinking? I've been tracking it. Turned red. Did a weird thing. It's a UFO. I've been filming it. Yeah, it's neat. Yeah.
I actually I had 2 red orbs that are on my website, and that was the first sighting I had. And I gave it to UFO BC database, and they were just completely skeptical about it. They were like, "Oh, well, you're filming inside your house. I don't know what that is." I was like, "No, you can hear me opening the balcony door." Like, they were just immediately skeptical. I just stopped after that point. There's, sometimes people just want to tear apart your sighting as ridiculous, and even the UFO people sometimes are nuts and bolts. They don't want to believe what you're looking at as a UFO. So,
Well, I wanted to make a note too, Jeff, with that last clip. When I guess we're officially talking about it, but that day I was at work.
Yeah.
We hadn't talked for about 3 days. We were still getting information and stuff for the hybrid presentation because we were working on that and trying to get everything together. And then that exact moment, I sent you a relevant to the hybrid program through Reddit post, I think it was. And then you're like, hey, this is happening right now. And so I know that synchronicity was there with that sighting,
Yeah,
which is interesting because I know we were talking back and forth on that. So yeah,
yeah,
definitely fascinating.
yeah. It's always all of the sightings. Every single one of them is relevant to something in the very moment that I'm having in that present time. So in this case, the one you're referring to, it's very interesting. So you can see, if anyone paid attention, in the raw video, I'm quickly picking up my phone to film, and I'm walking out to the balcony. And on the screen of the TV is actually me working on the afterlife presentation I was doing. So I'm literally working on that second on how the phenomenon connects to the afterlife, or however I frame that. And then there's a UFO outside my window. Yeah, I filmed it. I went upstairs to see if I could capture any better film from the deck, and you literally texted just as the sighting ended. It was really, really interesting the way that's all links up sometimes. Yeah,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah,
That's I mean, synchronicities, I don't believe in them.
yeah,
Coincidences, I don't believe in them. It was just one of
yeah,
those things where, yep, perfect timing.
yeah. It's all aligned.
Perfect
Yeah, you
timing.
got it.
That's
So
right.
I do have a bit to say actually about.
Go ahead.
So, okay, so let me kind of back up here. So all this started with me right when my memories came out of alien contact. That's the gist of it. And I do consider myself to have a relationship with this entity. And so yeah, sometimes I guess you can call it a telepathic relationship. And then it manifests in these ways. And listen, this entity has shown up on my birthday, and she has, and sometimes I'll get close sightings when I'm having emotional distress. So kind of like a dog is to a human, right? Coming in and trying to help you out. So this thing there's a bit of affection that goes on with this entity, and most people don't want to hear words like that, but that's what this is. There's kind of a strange relationship. I enjoy and love the sightings, and she knows I do. And so, last night is a good example of that, where she shows up, and for every time she shows up, it always has a kind of a grander purpose. And last night was to talk more about this relationship of these drones that are in the States. So basically, over the years, the phenomenon has manifested for me in a huge variety of ways. I think what people are going to learn is that what people think are multiple different phenomenon is in fact all the same phenomenon manifesting in multiple different ways. So an example of this is me and my wife went for a walk one day out to a pier, actually, out here by the airport. And you can walk out to the water underneath the airplanes flying in. So you can get a cool sight of the airplanes coming in. And as we're walking back, I'm thinking and mulling over all this alien stuff that I was just awakening to at that time. This was probably in 2020, if not 2021. And I'm thinking about how, they must be aware of me, like what I'm thinking about, because I can't quite understand how some of these sightings have kind of matched up with, things in my environment. And then right then and there, in front of me, invisibly, is this a jet had just passed over, and it's like they took the sound of the jet, and all of a sudden it went the same sound of the jet that just passed over was in front of me, much louder, invisibly, and it was combined with this whirling whipping up sound, kind of like a whipping and like rushing wind sound, incredibly loud. And so loud, I grabbed my wife and put her down to the ground, and I was like, "What's going on?" I'm yelling out loud, and she couldn't hear it, and she didn't know what I was talking about. I was a little bit annoyed, thinking that maybe she confused the waves of the ocean. I didn't understand why she didn't hear it. It would be later that I would learn only certain people can sometimes tune into the phenomenon. But what's crazier is I eventually found a UFO BC database report of someone experiencing the exact same sound in the exact same location. So the phenomenon manifested itself in the same way, in the same location for someone else. And I would experience her doing that in the exact same spot underneath the airlines, underneath, the airport and the noises. So, but she would never do anything like that ever again out in any other location. And I started to kind of pick up that the phenomenon does twist things up. Yeah, she'll be red orbs here at certain times when she wants me to film. She's never red orbs otherwise. Those daylight sightings of these kind of rolling black objects, she's never like that at nighttime. So when at nighttime, she's this airplane right now. And so after contacting the desert, I'm spreading out this message of theirs. They gave me a triangle sighting, a triangle craft sighting. And I'd never seen a triangle craft. And that was also really weird. I was out in the States. So it had a geography element to it that I can't quite sometimes pinpoint, as if they're manifesting in a certain location based on maybe consciousness or geography. So it's really weird how it shapes like that. I come back, and the very first night I come back and I'm out on my balcony, I see that triangle craft as if it had followed me home, and it literally flies over me with a thunderous jet sound. So that was really weird, kind of replicating a jet sound. It burls around, turns into a row of lights. I know it's her. I affectionately say, I love you. Like, oh my God, I love you. She shines a light at me. So as if, how police officers, when they have their car light, they can shine it directly on the side, like kind of looking at you as if you're in a park and you're kids smoking or something, and they kind of shine a light on you. It was like this light on the side of the craft just went and shined on me, turned off, and then she literally, with my eyes looking at her, transforms into an airplane. So, and then she'll always be, from that point onwards, this black airplane. And those were those films you've seen here are me filming these moments of now, okay, I have got her as an airplane, but she doesn't do anything. She just looks like an airplane. So I wasn't really taking the filming too seriously. And there was some communication from that point onwards to don't film us and we'll show you more. And so I have seen some pretty wacky things, but she doesn't want me to put them on film. But I just kind of kept thinking this was my private experience. And the fact that she turned into a plane was the most weirdest. And I just thought, okay, but what it meant is that she was able to get close flybys. So she's been closer than she's ever been. We're talking hundreds of feet. When she was an orb, she was always a bit more distant. And now as this plane, she's a lot more closer. And also a lot more revealing. So she'll stay out all night long. My wife doesn't know. She's sitting there flying. The object is sitting there flying back and forth. And I don't know how to tell my wife that I know that's an alien. And but what's interesting is that she did this kind of manipulation into some kind of an object, some kind of shape shifting. And that's the big key here. Now, when all this New Jersey drone stuff started up, the first sign for me was the sound. Someone reported it looks like a plane. It's only a couple hundred feet in the sky, but it hums. And that was like, that's what mine does. It doesn't actually have a normal plane sound. It actually had a hum sound. The best description I had was what it sounds like to hear a jet 30,000 feet in the sky. So you can actually kind of still hear the jet when it's really, really high up. It was like that. It was mimicking a very distant jet, but it was a propeller plane only a couple hundred feet in the sky. And so the hum drone weird sound was very consistent. And then the elder being the red and green plane lights, she kind of really consistently kept up the red and green. So Daniel, the very film, the film that we're talking about between you and me, that we had the synchronicity. So while I'm filming, I'm telepathically saying, please do something, like do something abnormal. Don't make it look like you're just a normal balloon or something. Please do something very, jerky. I think I said something in telepathy like, please do something, jerky, or I can't remember what words I used at the time. So, okay, that's fine. She doesn't do that. But the next night she comes back, she does. So, but I knew not to film. So she's a red and green orb light going back and forth like this in the kind of off the horizon there a little bit. And she's going back and forth really fast. And I was like, okay, so she did it. She came back and she did it. And then that red and green light at one point was sitting over top of my house, and I was caught off guard one night. I kind of just looked up, and it's sitting there as if it was watching me through my window. And I got so caught off guard. I was like, what's going on? Why is someone watching me? And as soon as I noticed it, it moved as if it didn't want to be seen or something. And it started to drop, and then it just disappeared. And that's been seen down south now too. So one of the mayors was on the news saying a red and green light that sits there blinking back and forth. It doesn't do anything, and then it starts moving. His description was the same as mine, very methodical. So you're not looking, even drones, right? Drones do a weird hover that's very loose. And even a plane will have a type of curvature as it's doing its rolls. These objects are straight. They're much more controlled, much more methodical, much more smoother. And that's also what I experience here too. So everything I'm hearing about down south is matching all my experience with the elder, and that was the 2 cents that I want to give. That I'm actually practically convinced everything I'm hearing about, the entire thing is non-human intelligence, and it would make sense because of what I know from what they've told me in my book, that they do plan to, do something and maybe merge and put themselves down on the ground at some point. So I don't know exactly what's going on here, but this is all consistent with the big picture of what I know. So
I started to wonder that too, about this, and I even saw a video the other day with a girl using dowsing rods asking questions about all of this,
right.
that her audience sends her, and they were saying yes, that they're NHI, and especially like you have the ones coming out of the ocean, which is like really weird, like orbs, and I have seen some in some other countries like Brazil, but again, like you were saying, it's like I can't verify because it's also another country, but that's what the videos are showing. And I also had to wonder because there was a video of one that you guys posted at some point on Discord where it looked like a drone and it was flying towards the camera, and then it turns into an orb of light and then it just zooms off. And it makes me wonder when they're not doing anything because they're like, that's what the government's asking. Like, why aren't you guys just shooting them down? And my theory, a part of that theory was like, because they probably know that it's not like a traditional type of like craft or something like that. So if somebody's in the know and they know they can't fire, because what if they try to fire openly where people can see and they start doing weird stuff? Now you have more questions to answer for, like, so that's part of my thing. And another theory I had is if there were a bunch of actual UFO NHI like actually flying around and they wanted to kind of dismiss it, what if you were to mix in some of your actual technology that you have that we don't know about to kind of confuse everybody? That's also a possibility, but I think that the majority of it is NHI related because of some of the some of the film that people are filming in New Jersey and other places. They're doing like traditional UFO, just like you described it, movements where they're making 90-degree turns. You even have audio pilots reporting this about them flying at a high altitude and then all of a sudden doing an immediate drop into the ocean, things like that. There are some recent reports of that. So.
Also wanted to just piggyback off of that, Christian. There's also been sightings in Russia and China as well,
Yeah.
and
Mm-hmm.
other countries. So the people that say, "Oh, this is just potentially China drones," I know Russia, between the Ukraine war and everything, they would have probably pulled out some type of tech to help them on that front, since they are hemorrhaging on a lot, billions essentially in the war. But the fact that China is having sightings as well, and then these craft are going dark as soon as they get a light on them or anything like that, which means that they're just disappearing. I doubt China has that technology, even if it was potentially reverse engineered tech. I just highly doubt it. One thing I did want to just kind of ask you, Jeff, just popped in my mind as you were talking about your experiences with the Elder. So we know that they can mimic sound, they can mimic imagery. We also have talked about before on the channel how they can potentially see future events or even lifetime events, so they're outside of time and space.
Right. Yeah.
Do you think that part of her manifestation of these types of drone or plane was prepping for maybe some of these events? Just crossed my mind. I don't know if you've thought about that.
Yeah, it's it's all part of the game, eh? And it's a really good point that I would be having firsthand experience with it. I haven't found anybody else who can directly say what I'm saying. At least maybe they're not public, and there's reason to not be public about this, I have to admit. But yeah, it is very interesting that I would have firsthand experience with this idea that you would show me, hey, I'm that UAP you saw down, I'm that UFO you saw down in the States. I'm back here. Now watch me transform into an airplane. and then she consistently is the airplane, and now all I hear about are these, drone airplanes. By the way, there are no drone airplanes. They don't exist. I don't know what people are going on about. Drone airplanes don't exist. They don't have these fake drones, these airplanes that are very slow moving, that look like airplanes. That are the size of a car. I mean, there's no market. They don't exist. The military hasn't been seen to have these, and so they're very specific. These types of shapes and objects, the way they look, and yeah, this is very interesting. I do believe it's related, but I don't know how to make those kind of jumps. So all I can do is just speak to my personal experience right now, and not really know what the bigger picture is until they reveal it. That's actually the big part. They're in charge of the entire thing, which is why I wouldn't even speak about it until that sighting I had last night, which was the confirmation for me. Yeah, go ahead, you speak about this. I was actually asking her, and then she showed up, and I said, actually, I was saying, until I see you regarding this content, then I'll know I can talk about it. But I won't talk about it until then, because I consider them in charge of the whole thing. So when I say in charge, I mean they know the bigger picture and what's best.
So, for the other viewers that might be wondering, since you're in British Columbia, with American citizens that are paying attention to this, and if you're an American citizen and you're not paying attention to this, then you're probably not watching this. But if you are, shame on you, because this is like news that is slowly coming out, but still pretty much being suppressed. We have plenty of our government officials saying that there's nothing to see here; it's just mass hysteria. With that in context, what is the Canadian perspective? Not your own personally, Jeff, but have you heard anything from like the Canadian media or people in Canada as far as those crazy Americans? They're running some psyop on each other, or
Right.
they just can't admit to anything in the sky, or there's nothing there to see, or just complete silence.
So this is so fascinating. It is a social experiment in and of itself.
Hmm.
Nobody knows about it. So I can't figure out why it's not broaching a level of media that even, dude, the hearings didn't either. So I can go into my job and be like, oh my God, yeah, this UFO stuff is getting out of control. Their hearings, the second one. What are you talking about? I don't know what you're referring to.
Crickets, right?
Yeah, you didn't know that there were hearings about, they started talking about aliens, and they talked about hybrids, by the way. I'm like, hey, I was talking about hybrids a while ago. The hybrids, they're talking about them in the Senate now. And yeah, no, I don't know anything about that. Oh, interesting. I'll sure to look that up. Like
Uh-huh.
it's not hitting a level of media. And I actually, I don't like subscribing to the conspiracy theory ideas, but man,
Right.
does it ever really want to lend you towards it. It's such a strange. I can only imagine maybe they're doing it because they say, oh, there's probably a mundane explanation, and since we don't know and no one knows, what's the point of making a news article when you don't know? So
Right.
maybe that's what they're saying. I don't really know. I haven't seen a single. Now I think I saw a CTV article with the first New Jersey ones, CTV Canadian television
Hmm.
broadcasting, but that was it. And I haven't seen any other consistent reporting on it anywhere in my feed regarding Canadian media. And but the ones that there were orbs in Canada, and then that made the news. So that
Right.
was interesting. So as an astronomer caught on video orbs outside of Kingston, Ontario, and then that made the news. And again, they were just a mystery. Ooh, interesting mystery, and that's all that got labeled. And actually, they did refer to the drones in the states when they made that, when they talked about that article or talked about that news part,
Mhm.
news clip, but they didn't actually delve into it, and there's just no coverage of it. So to such a degree, my own coworkers don't know what's going on. I've never heard of any of this.
I can see like the entities just being like, like what else do we have to
Yeah,
do here?
yeah,
And my own personal perspective is this, because we interviewed, one of the very first things we did as a team, Daniel, Christian, and I, was talk to Grant Cameron, and Grant Cameron talked about the consciousness. We were talking about consciousness and the different levels, as if it was like an ocean. And so here's my theory. I'm not looking for approval from anybody in the audience, nor anybody else from the panel. Here's my opinion: is that we have these tiers, and at the highest tier, and it doesn't mean that they, can't go up and down a little bit as far as individual entities or our craft or their craft or anything. Well, up here at the top, we have the NHI, the aliens, whatever. Even they come from the ocean. They can go up these levels and they can go down these levels, right? So if they have bases in the ocean and bases on the moon, just putting this out there, they can go transmedium, right? We're mainly, yeah, we go into space, but not to the highest degree. We're Earth based, and every once in a blue moon we go into the ocean, which is only like 5% discovered. But anyway, so we've got them up here at the higher level for all general purposes in our atmosphere or high up in the sky. And then the government knows that they're there and they're trying to make themselves visible. So then the government, not saying that all these drones are prosaic, but there are some, okay, that are flying around trying to say, oh, that way they have the excuse, oh, it's just a hobby drone, it's just, et cetera, it's man-made stuff and all this jazz, to try to have us confused as to what's actually coming from above, to where we doubt the orbs, we doubt the shape-shifting capabilities, we doubt the mimicry, and we just put everything under, well, it must be some kind of like psyop. Not saying that there isn't a psyop, but it's obfuscation of what's really going on. And I think that that's probably one of the biggest things that our military, the United States, is doing, is just to try to, nothing to see here, just the average stuff. But they've found themselves in this shoehorned position of, well, we don't know what they are, but no harm comes to you.
Yeah,
We've got
yeah.
people that are out there in New Jersey and other places now, again, across the world, but just talking about here in the States. And these drones are flying over their houses nightly for almost a month now.
Yeah.
And don't worry about it. Everything's fine. No, just go to sleep. Everything's
Even trying
fine.
gaslighting, saying that they weren't even
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah,
that
again, that mass
was 2
hysteria
a day ago.
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And it's like, but yet people will buy it. Like you said in Canada, the people are like, really? Oh, I don't know that. Or
Yeah.
it's just a balloon with lights on it or some jazz.
Yeah.
And it's just like, wow. So people but they wouldn't try these tactics. When I say they, I mean like governments wouldn't try these tactics if they didn't work. So it's still working for a significant portion. And I just, again, I have to go back to like the NHI or the Eldar or whoever, just going, oh, for crying out loud. Like, what do we need to do? But, I mean, I don't know. That's just my
And
theory. I think we're just a long way from, if we ever get it, from any kind of admission. So we're just going to have to just pull our resources together, have all the Jeff Selvers out there in the world and all the Cosmic Convergences out there in the world to finally just put our heads together and try not to have little individual skirmishes with each other about who's right and who's wrong, and just really start to bring this stuff to true light. And with the help of the entities, we can do so. I don't think that if they didn't want us to see them, they wouldn't
Yeah.
show themselves.
Yeah.
They would not show themselves.
They're so low. They're supposed to be visibly seen, yeah. And they're so fast that it's supposed to be mysterious. So you catch it on video, but you can't sit there with an hour of of filming it, right? Some cases obviously you can, but some of the sightings are fascinatingly brief and large and too mysterious. Yeah.
So and I know we're running out of time here, Jeff, but would you do us a favor and not just come back on the podcast again? Because again, it's always a pleasure to have you. Always.
Yeah, likewise, gentlemen. You got it. Yeah.
But if there's any kind of significant change in Vancouver or anywhere else in Canada, you guys start experiencing these flaps, or you have more contact, if you please consider coming to us with that.
You got it, guys. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. I always want to, this isn't meant to be a private relationship, and I don't ever want it to be, because honestly, it's quite extreme. So I like making sure that other people are aware of that contact and share it with everybody else. And I'll definitely do it with you guys. So you got it.
Thank you. Any advice that you could give to anybody that starts seeing this or has been seeing these kind of activity for such a long period of time now?
I wasn't told this by them, but I would find I'm convinced it's them. And so I actually gave a post. No, I didn't give a post. I made a comment about it in Reddit and basically said, try approaching it telepathically with an open heart and an open mind. And if you're sincerely, authentically open-hearted and open-minded, you might have some type of engagement with it. And apparently, some people on Experiencer Reddit are saying that they're able to draw them up or are starting to engage with them. I don't know if that's real because we don't really have evidence for that. But the entities are the same as my entities, and I'm convinced that if you're authentically open-hearted and authentically open-minded, you could engage with them. Yeah.
Really exciting times to be able to be seeing this and involved with it. I know in my own personal day-to-day, I've had coworkers come up to me, have shown me their own sightings that's been happening here in old Boise, Idaho. So, it's just really, really cool to see that. And yeah, just excited to be here and connected with all you fine gentlemen and being able to do this together.
Yeah, definitely strange times. I'm actually happy about it because I was getting antsy waiting for something to happen. And
Right.
then recently, and I've been meaning to tell Jeff, but it seems so small. I was like, maybe I shouldn't bother him with it. But I had a dream recently, and so did a friend of mine who she doesn't have dreams or talk about this as much as we do. And she came to me telling me about weird dreams she was having of being visited by gray beings, and she woke up sweating and her heart pounding really fast like it had really happened. And my girlfriend's having dreams, getting messages when she normally doesn't. We talk about this stuff, but she doesn't have dreams like that, so it's very interesting. And last thing is, with the whole drone thing, and my dad, I was talking to him about it, and we were both laughing when he made the comment. He's like, "I hope it gets worse," because he not to scare people, but to finally get people to break through, to finally start pushing us to uh, force or try to force answers out of government, get to the truth. So I think that we need to stay open-minded, curious, and pay attention to everything that's happening right now because it's important.
Thank you everyone for joining us. And then also really quick, Jeff, how do people find you?
My website is my name, www.jeffselver.com. And there are my links for my YouTube channel, Facebook page, and Reddit as well too. Yeah, my Reddit posts.
Awesome. We'll be able to put that on the screen as well. And yeah, so thank you everyone for joining us. And if you guys have any of your own sightings, please contact us. We'd love to hear your own experiences. And be sure to like, share, subscribe to Cosmic Convergence. And thank you everyone for tuning in. Have a wonderful day.
Bad monkey.